Hello friends, this is Oj with the Existentialist. I'm a life purpose coach. The themes on this channel are mental health, self-improvement and self-realization. We've had Kiran Gulrajani on our channel in the past, and I'm so happy that we have the opportunity to collaborate again. Kiran, as you might know already, is a heartist and is all about unraveling the heart song. And today he has agreed to do a spontaneous group coaching session, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I just want to pass over to him and let him do his magic. So over to you, Kiran.
Thank you, Ojas, and really such a delight to have you, Kaustubh, also with us.
Thank you.
And so it's pretty much, we're just going to play and learn and discover together. There isn't so much of a thought through plan, but because we seem to resonate, there is a chemistry, something will uncover itself so that it's of value to all three of us. And the background really is, particularly for you, Kaustubh, I think we had a bit of a conversation, but after 25 years of working in the field of leadership development, facilitator development, coach development, working with corporates, with individuals, with people who are creating beautiful ecosystems, communities, social work. One of my dear friends and coaches asked me a very powerful question, because my work was about inspired by the Tao Te Ching. And so people knew me about that. I kind of identified with it. And he said, who would Kiran be without the Tao? Mm-hmm. And it suddenly made me wonder that, hey, this had become an identity. And when I stepped back and looked, what is it that I am essentially in my life, my work, I saw that I was at my core an artist, and I asked this question that, what is my art? Because it was not one of those conventional, pieces of, how should I say, painting or singing or dancing, which is everything that I enjoy. But I discovered that my art was about the heart. Uh-huh. And that's how the word Heartist came about. And then what is the work? And for a while now, in fact, 25 years back when I jumped out of the corporate world, there was this question that we are living such a small fraction of the life that we are given. What would it take to fully live our potential? And therefore, can we discover and fully live the song that we were born to sing? And so the whole word that came together, for me, words are worlds. And this word Heartistry came about. And Heartistry typically would be spelled with a T-R-Y. But because I love to play with words and worlds, it also became Heartistry, like T-R-E-E. And
like
then, of course, like a tree. And people said, hey, pick up one of the words. And I said, a lot of me is about two always, together. So if I would say the core of my work is together, like three of us together. So I said Heartistry, for now let's call it Heartistry, to differentiate between the true word, is more an alone individual blossoming. Mm-hmm. And Heartistry, as in the tree, is about the blossoming of a togetherness. It could be a community, it could be a relationship, a triad like this. So what we're going to explore today is looking at, both of you are heartists from what little I know of you. And you are manifesting your heartistry, and yet there would be some things which might come in the way of you fully singing this song, right, that you were born to sing. So we'll explore that. Equally, as I'm exploring with you, I will be exploring my own terrain also. So it's not like I am senior and there is a hierarchy, but we are learning together, right? So I want to actually start with a question. And the question is very simply, take your time to answer it, unless it comes spontaneously. That if we have the next half an hour, approximately, what would be the best possible outcome for you of this half an hour? You know, like, to be both realistic and daring to see what we could create together, and for you individually, particularly if there's a challenge that you are navigating that might be interesting to explore in the fullest manifestation of your Heartistry.
I can go first. So firstly, thank you so much, Kiran, for doing this. It's lovely to see you in action, and I'm, already feeling the effects. And as soon as you gave this elicitation, something came out of me, and I'm like, yes, something is possible, which is practical as well as ambitious to be done within the next half an hour. And for me, what came out was, I want to really get to the bottom of what this Heartistry is, and really get a feeling of it rather than a theoretical understanding, and to be able to really resonate with it and find my heart song. I feel after I find my heart song, I can go deeper into it and explore that further and find mastery in it, find expression in it. But to be able to surrender to this ideology and make it into a living thing.
Yeah, and it would really help, Ojas, because what you really shared is kind of a macro thing, right? But the art lies in detail and specificity, right? So it would be really useful if you could zoom in on something particular, because a small part will always contain the whole, right? And it is far more effective to work with specificity. So what would you say? Let's dive deep into the texture of your challenge or pain or
yeah. Thank you. So that already puts me in this vulnerable position where now I'm actually not just talking about it, but bringing something to the table that that needs expression. And I would say that the first answer that comes to me is my heart song is to empower people, right? As a coach, as a speaker, help people find their purpose, and that's one of the most meaningful things in my life. But oftentimes I feel a lack of motivation. It can be counterintuitive, but sometimes it doesn't really shake me to the bones. It's meaningful, but it's like, it's just something that I'm doing, and I feel it's possible for me to feel more alive. I feel it's possible for me to unleash something in me which would make me more passionate, not just as perceived by others, but the passion that I can feel, and that is unstoppable, and that guides me into my work, and it being something that makes me want to wake up in the morning, not with dread but with excitement, and really want to pursue this.
Okay. I hear you that you would like to be more fully alive all the time.
Yes.
And singing this song, like fully embodying, and there are times when you tend to not feel so inspired, right? I mean, so that's the question. Kaustubh, would you like to share something?
Yeah, for me, I guess it's like I choose to look at more simpler, I guess, and more direct answer.
Yeah.
And in a more private manner, I would rather have the Heartistry help me like pave the path towards mental and emotional stability. Like to be really there in all the moments rather than being fidgeting around in our mind and in the probably mostly in the mind around in different things and really get out of the urban sphere of what we call as stress and understanding like the moment, how value the moment is happening. So for me, the Heartistry would probably lead it down that path.
Right. I mean, if I was to just put it in a simple way, how can you be more here now?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And once again, if you notice, just like Ojas, you are saying something which is pretty macro, right? And that's our tendency because we just want to look at the big picture. But what is interesting is that you said urban, and which I believe stress, like the whole stress aspect. So I want to share a page from my travel notes, and I feel this might resonate. 20 plus years back, I read a book called The Corporate Mystic, MYSTIC, by Gay Hendricks. And I was so inspired by that book that I actually wrote to him and traveled to the US to learn from him.
Wow.
And this was in 99, 2000. And it was very beautiful. He's a great writer, a great human being. And then he works together with his wife, and their work is in the field of relationships. And there's one thing that I learned from them, which is coming up in this moment, which is there are only two possibilities for humans. I will say it in my words.
Sure.
Either you are flowing, singing, being present, being fully alive, okay? Or you are being human, not fully alive, which means that what we feel as a problem of lack of motivation, stress, etc., this seems to be undesirable state, and then there's a desirable state, right?
True.
And because we've experienced this desirable state, it almost seems like, hey, this is not right, okay? But if you look at it from the perspective of learning, because at the heart of artistry is the artistry of learning.
Right.
So in other words, we could say either we are flowing, singing, inspired, or we are learning how to be that. Which means
okay.
It's a process.
Not only process, but when we feel that we are not fully inspired, that's the time to learn how to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, Kiran. So simple.
That's very thoughtful. Yeah, actually, I haven't thought of it that way at all.
Yeah.
At all, yeah.
See, the thing is, we make certain states into a problem. And that's okay, because there are problems to be solved, right? But what I'm inviting you to is to truly see what is it that you want to create, where problems will be there, but we don't make them into a problem. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like there is problem solving, and then there is problem unraveling, unfolding.
Yeah.
So let us just shift the conversation for a moment to what is it that brings you alive, Kaustubh?
What is it that brings me alive?
Yeah, what is your passion? What do you enjoy doing,
To be honest, I enjoy kind of like looking and observing things and being at a peace with the whole nature, right? And when I say nature, I don't mean only the nature in the natural sense. I mean any nature that I'm currently in. So like we are in a triad right now.
Yeah.
So in this situation, me talking openly and having a good conversation is what makes me feel the most alive, right? Or let's say if I'm in a party dancing,
Yeah.
dancing to
Yes.
the rhythm is what makes me feel most alive.
Right.
Anything which is not, or which is mentally or physically afflicting that part,
Yeah.
makes me feel away from it. So
Right.
that's
Right.
my
Yeah.
vision. Yeah.
And I want you to just notice that what is your relationship with affliction? You know? Because it is not often the lack of motivation or the affliction or the stress that is the problem, but it is how do I relate to that?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So when lack of motivation arises, or this affliction, what you call, arises, how do you respond and relate to that?
Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
It's an interesting
Yeah,
question.
it's very interesting. Like I
Yeah.
have, because I have muddled on these questions, I've seen it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I kind of find it like I know the answers to this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've never shared it with anybody. Right? It's the
Ah.
first time I'm sharing things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
So what I do is I basically quieten down. I push back inside myself, and I try and avoid the situations.
Exactly.
So avoidance is a huge aspect of that.
Yeah.
I don't usually fight or get aggressive about
Yes,
it, and I
yes.
hate if somebody does that.
Yeah, very interesting. Now you have shared this. You want to say something?
No.
Okay. So notice that a sure way to be stuck is to push it down, right? Because that which you resist will persist, and we know this intellectually.
True.
Right? So the invitation of Heartistry is, how might you come into your body?
Okay.
Because the body is always present here, now. It cannot go into the future or past, right? So I would say that we haven't been taught to pay attention to the body. We have been taught exactly what you said, to suppress our feelings, to deny them, to avoid them, to distract ourselves, right? So I would say that next time, even if you know the fact that you're aware that you push back and avoid, rather than either we'll be aggressive or we will be submissive, either we'll explode or we'll implode, and each of us have our preferences. But can we instead bring wonder and curiosity to actually observe? You love observing, no? Can you also observe this more intimately? That what is this texture of the affliction? What is actually happening in my body? You know, how am I contracting maybe? Right? And in that noticing, you know, you may discover that maybe I can allow, maybe I can open up. Not again putting this as a should, that okay, now I shouldn't do this and I should open up, but more just a curiosity. Hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You know?
Can you expand on the more, like, if we look at it in a more subliminal level,
Yeah.
right? Like, can you expand on how? It would be wrong to ask how to do it, but in the sense how to look upon it.
Yeah. So like I said, that one of the things is to truly come in touch with what's happening in your body and your breath. You know. So the body, sometimes most of us have numbed our bodies also. Right?
Yeah.
But if you start noticing, you will notice. For example, I have seen, as I started becoming more aware, that fear, sadness and anger are the three primary emotions. And if I would take two others, of course happiness is an emotion. And one particular emotion which is very distinct is like sexual feelings.
Okay.
Right? Now, each of these emotions have a physical location in the body. Yeah. So if I was to ask you, Ojas, where would sadness be located?
Ooh. I would say around the heart area.
Heart area, chest.
Chest, yes.
You know? And a lot of our respiratory ailments have to do with sadness. When I was younger, and even now sometimes, I went through a lot of sadness, and I found that I had a lot of, cough and congestion and those kind of challenges. Asthma is uncried tears.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, the work of Louise Hay, Heal Your Body, correlates the physical and the emotional stuff. Equally, where would you say fear is located? Typically.
Stomach.
Yeah, on the stomach.
In the stomach, no, butterflies in the
Butterflies,
stomach.
yeah.
So that digestive stuff often happens out of fear. And I was blessed and cursed to have even that, that problem, that I would often my digestion even sometimes today. Now, of course, I have learned how to manage and take care of my body and diet and exercise. And anger is located in the upper part, and
Right.
On the face,
head,
on the brain,
shoulders,
yeah.
face, etc.
Right.
So just knowing that and then tuning in, often it's a combination of feelings, right? Most of our challenges which prevent us from being inspired or that make us stressed are because of us either feeling guilty or shameful.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough, right? Or I'm not loved enough. I don't have enough. I am not enough.
Yeah, that being a huge
Yeah.
part,
That's core.
always there.
Yeah. So, Adya Shanti calls it the core wound of unworthiness that human beings have. So, if you come into the body, which is one aspect that I'm pointing to in that moment. The other is, you use the word nature, right? And I would really say that the fundamental thing that we human beings suffer from in various ways is what somebody, a doctor, a close friend, called essentially the NDD, nature deficit disorder.
Very economical sounding stuff.
Yeah, and you said it, urban setting,
Yeah.
urban cities are designed for stress,
Exactly.
right? And somewhere we have to learn to reconnect with nature. When you go to a beautiful place, 80% of the problem is solved.
Yeah.
There's nothing you have to do. And we used to live in touch with nature, right? So the outer nature mirrors our inner nature, and when we go there, we are at peace.
Yeah.
Right? And the third thing which connects us is, what is your art? And what is your art means not necessarily, like, for example, you are into filmmaking, right? That is your artistry, where you're going into mastery. But what are the different things that you enjoy doing just to have fun? Which is what I mean by your passion. You enjoy observing. But if I was to ask, what are the different things that you do? I mean, people often use the word hobbies, passions.
Yeah.
What would you say you enjoy?
Yeah. So I have a few different hobbies, and when you said this, it made me think, what do I really enjoy? And somehow what struck to me was getting excited and sharing excitement with others. So to answer the previous question, what brings you alive? For me, it is, I reflected on this recently, so I know that one is exploration. So exploring unseen landscapes that I've never seen before, going to unknown places and being like, wow. And going to this place was like, oh, let's find out what's here. Let's go a little bit further.
Yes.
And the other thing, of course, as I said, is empowering others. And whenever I come across something new, I get excited. I'm like, wow.
Mm.
And then I want to share it with others. I want to take great pictures, share it with them, have achieve little milestones. You know,
Yes.
maybe the time is 11:11. Maybe I managed to, achieve 3 days of yoga in a row.
Yeah.
And I want to share that joy, and I want to somehow, share that kind of positive, excited energy with others.
Wow, beautiful.
And that came up when you asked.
Yes,
So-
yes, interesting, no?
Yeah.
And I'm also, going to deliberately ask you now to, so which is the, like, you really contacted, essentially you want to bring and share joy and excitement, right?
Yeah.
But also inside of that you said taking pictures,
Yeah.
seeing unseen landscapes,
Yeah.
so I'm wanting us to also look at in a very earthy doing way. Like
Okay.
what do you do, like making films, for example.
Yeah.
So that is why I like to use the lens of what are the various art forms,
Yeah.
or even sports or activity,
Mm-hmm.
that brings you alive.
Mhm.
So for example, if it is music, now it doesn't mean you have to be a singer, but just listening to music
Yeah.
or dancing, So what is it? What would you say?
So a huge passion of mine that always was there, but I recently found during the pandemic,
Yes.
is I love smelling
Ah.
different flavors of food.
Wow.
Right?
Ooh.
So I always wanted to, like everyone, like as Ojas has said,
Yeah.
I of course want to see travel
Yes.
being the word,
Yes.
and see different landscapes.
Yes.
But the landscape part has narrowed down right now
Yes.
to try different cuisines
Cuisine
of the world,
Right.
and authentic cuisines like street food.
Yeah.
So I wanna smell, let's say, a Vietnamese cuisine and
Yeah.
a European cuisine, and
Yeah.
try and understand like how
Yeah.
they match or how they don't match.
Yeah.
Oh,
What are the
interesting.
herbs that can come down?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I can make an Indian cuisine with that.
Yeah.
So that's my passion side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But along with that, I also like to, of course, travel and see the spaces,
Yes,
like how
yes.
the history has formed down to
Yes.
that cuisine.
Yes. Yes.
Right, like why Rajasthani cuisine is as it is, or why Bengali
Yes.
cuisine is as it is.
Yes. Yes.
So that's something I recently found out.
Amazing.
And yeah, that's what I want to follow
Yeah.
in my like
Yeah.
not work time. This is
Yeah.
my heart part.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If cinematography is my art part, this part is my heart part.
Ah,
if I can say so.
Nice.
Okay.
Well said.
Yeah.
Okay, how beautiful, And to some extent, it makes sense to separate, your work and your heart,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think what we're also talking is how can our heart song animate our work,
Mhm.
our home, our relationships,
Mm.
True.
right? And what I found is that body, both embodiment and doing things with the body, right? Things with hands,
Mhm.
Cooking, gardening, various things that you enjoy doing. Physical, being physical, and emotionally engaging with something which is artistic, So, and so body, art, and nature,
Mhm.
right? So I'm just kind of now sharing the framework of artistry, is a triangle. There are two triangles, one of them has the context, which could be work, home, relationships. The other corner has to do with body, art, nature,
Mm-hmm.
bringing that alive. And the third corner is community. Like here we are a community,
Mm-hmm.
What are your tribes, right? We used to live in tribes, but we've lost touch with the whole urban thing, right? So this is what I'm wanting to invite you, and truly, can we, apart from solving the problem and the challenge of lack of motivation, of urban stress, being in the present, also shift the focus from problem solving to actually creating?
Okay.
Interesting.
And what I mean by creating is truly looking at making time. I was coaching somebody in the US, and we started with, hey, what are your challenges? and he listed out a few things, and often wanting to be in the zone, like we all want to be all the time, and therefore, making not being in the zone wrong. But now we are saying that that also is just like learning time. That while we will solve problems, let us focus on bringing ourselves alive by that which brings us alive. And making little spaces for that.
Can you repeat that?
What?
While solving problems.
Yeah. So I don't remember exactly, but I'll just say what comes. So while we are solving problems, which is a part of thing, but if that's a subset, the bigger story is let's create. Let's co-create like we're doing right now,
And live that aliveness.
And live that aliveness, like what is that which is bringing you alive, and why not begin to make spaces to attend to that. There is a Japanese word called misogi. Okay, and it means clearing away whatever does not contribute to your work of art in this life. And there's this book I was reading, and she says, cluttered tabletops, cluttered cupboards, cluttered calendars rob us of peace and power.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it may seem illogical, but it's very real. Right?
No,
it's very cluttered. And then she says that being filled full is not the same as being fulfilled.
Fulfilled, yeah.
Let there be spaces in our life to move and breathe. So, I don't know how much time we have, but I think at this point I just want to ask both of you to just reflect and maybe take a pause and see that is there some insight, some clarity, something that you feel you have learned out of this conversation.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of really interesting insights. I was really pleasantly surprised, and the last part that you mentioned has really stuck with me, about finding that aliveness and expression, and as a creation or artistic creative outlet rather than problem solving. And so if I was to apply that to me not feeling motivated enough in what I'm doing and not feeling alive enough, then I can tap into the artistic element of it, which does bring me to life, which is the exploration part, getting excited about things. But also, and I've been doing that, by the way, I've made videos when I've been exploring, and I've been recording videos. And the other big art expression for me has been making these videos, perfecting them, making little tweaks, and that for me is a form of service, and it is my work these days. But bringing that sense of excitement and seeing it as a form of art, and doing it from that way rather than as a burden of having some level of excellence or trying to troubleshoot and problem solve, making the best thing. So a shift in perspective, and
exactly how beautiful. And on that note, one of the things that's coming to me is that most of us, our senses are so deprived and starved. So when you said that you discovered this smelling food flavors, I just have some ginger biscuits. Would you like to try some?
I'd love to, actually.
Do you want to smell it first?
Yeah. I'll smell it. I'm already smelling it. I can already smell the ginger from here.
Wow.
Yeah. See, you wanna share? Break it?
I'll have a tiny bit.
Yeah, so would I.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, it's also has a pattern. Nice pattern.
Yeah, this is like, it was I got it around New Year's and Christmas.
Lovely.
It's really nice.
No?
Yeah, nice taste.
Do we have some more?
I'm okay for now.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Nice. It's really nice. I'm definitely sure it's homemade.
Yeah.
Well, it's not homemade, but it is. I love ginger flavor in biscuits. This is from Theo Broma.
Oh.
But they make it only around New Year's.
Okay.
And I thought it's so important to bring our senses alive in a Heartistry session.
Oh.
So maybe
look at you.
also listen to a song.
Sure. Yes, please. Yes,
Because
please.
we are so starved, you know, of pleasure and joy.
Yeah.
You know, and almost pleasure has been made into a bad thing or a wrong thing. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
But in little ways, can we create 5-minute vacations in the day to enjoy ourselves? You know, in addition to even if we enjoy our work, we just break the rhythm, break the monotony. You know.
And Kiran, it's also so interesting that this leisure, you just related it to how it can help your work.
Yeah.
And how it's the other side of problem solving in being able to excel at your work.
Exactly.
But I also think the huge point that Kiran made is, like, it's not always has to be that the work is the primal importance in any sense. To create 5 minutes of vacation does not need to have anything to do with your work.
Yeah.
Your work could be your work. You could enjoy your work, but you can also enjoy your 5 minutes of vacation, which has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I guess like a long time for me, like everything either revolves around the stress or around work. That 5 minute, even though I have my 5 minute, but I spend it, will this vacation help me in my work? Sometimes we don't need that.
You don't need that, just for the joy of it, you know. I want to read a quote which says, in many shamanic societies, in tribal society, if you came to a medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited or depressed, they would ask one of these 4 questions. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop finding comfort in the sweet territory of silence? Gabriel Roth. So, you know, and you will notice that even if we could take just a few minutes to sing or to dance, you know, something would come alive. The other thing I want to say, since I think it's important we speak about the framework so that it stays with you and in the video, that there's a vertical triangle with apex at the top, where I said we have the context, work, home, and relationships, body, art, and nature. Body also your health, which we often neglect, you know, very important. And on the third vertex, you have community, our tribe, you know. The other triangle, interestingly, is upside down, so that it makes a star when you impose it on this triangle, is about 3 things, you know, which come from these 2 lines which touched me. It said that we live so that we may learn to love.
Oh, okay.
And we love so that we may learn to live. So living, loving, and learning, you know, are the 3 essential aspects. And along with living, you also have to think of livelihood. You know, so the whole question of money. So I think as we are ending this, it's also important to say that while on one hand we are looking at celebrating through our passion, that might we also attend to that which brings us pain, that which is dysfunctional. And I realize that broadly there are 3 things which derail us from our heart song. One is our relationship with money, you know, which is pretty much, I mean, even people who have a lot of money don't have a good relationship with money.
True.
Right? It's about freedom. Am I feeling a freedom with regard to money? The second is our relationship with time. You know, because we often feel there isn't enough time, right? So we are always running and busy, and I have really struggled with this, both my relationship with money and time, and that's how it's come into my work as I learn to deal with it, right? And the third is our relationship with pain.
With pain.
Like you said, no? That you push it back,
Mm.
you avoid it.
Yeah.
So any kind of, and essentially shame and guilt perpetuate and deepen because we don't allow ourselves to grieve, to experience the pain. And Khalil Gibran said that only to the extent that you can allow pain to carve into your being can you contain joy. So pleasure and pain are really two sides of the same coin. So allow, like truly enjoying life and bringing more pleasure, sensuality, and at the same time facing, rather than spiritually bypassing it and becoming transcendental about it. Just be human and simple. Yeah. So I want to really therefore bring this to a closure, and maybe we just go around, sharing in one or two lines. You already shared, like, what are you left with? How are you feeling? I think not only what is the value, but how are you feeling right now?
In one word, lighter, I guess.
Lighter.
That's it. That's all. Yeah. Definitely lighter.
Yeah. I'm feeling brighter.
And I'm feeling wiser.
Wiser.
That's poetry in its own way.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Ojas, this beautiful home of yours.
Thank you, Ojas.
This new friend I have made.
Lovely.
Yeah, lovely. Who knows where this will take us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, Kiran. It's so amazing to see you come alive in these occasions, and we had basically no preparation of this, and this is so deeply imbibed in you. This is part of your life work, your heart song, things that I've heard from you so many times, and I realize how deeply embedded it is with you, because you're able to elicit it at a moment's notice and be able to provide so much value. I think today was part coaching, part teaching, and I got to explore myself. I got to learn a totally different perspective. So this has been amazing.
And Ojas, I want to tell you, it's so interesting, that I started the morning with coaching somebody who's based overseas, and he is one of the most acknowledged coaches who develops coaches. I won't take his name, but I have learned coaching from him. Very, very beautiful human being, right? And something about Heartistry pulled his heartstrings to actually explore his own artistry. And as I was talking to him, he's written this amazing book, and he shared very vulnerably, that he's feeling exhausted. That in spite of having accomplished so much, and he lives a pretty balanced life, a good life, and yet the discovery was that often responsibility and commitment and obligation weighs heavy on our shoulders, right? And he is yearning to dance, yearning to adventure, go on an adventure, to just sit at a coffee shop and just watch life go by, right? And we were just talking and sharing as friends, and at the end of it, he felt also lighter, we felt lighter, and light is, it's so beautiful, it has two meanings.
True.
So there is more light,
and
also we are light.
Feeling light,
Yeah. It's the meaning of my name.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
also there, yes.
What does Kaustubh mean?
Kaustubh is a Sanskrit name. It denotes the diamond that's in the heart of Lord Vishnu,
Ah.
which is the central of his power. So
Ah.
all his power stems from there.
Wow.
It's one of the gems that came from the churning of the ocean.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the
Interesting. And of course, Kiran is also light.
light.
Yeah.
A ray of the sun.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I thought when it said my name is light. I was like,
The
so is
ray
Kiran.
of light that emerges from the diamond in the heart.
Wow.
Yeah.